What's happening with Puffy? I know you're not really tapped in, but what
the last thing I saw was like a guy there. He was like, yo, he like pushed me into the truck. It really hurt. And he sodomized me. Like he sodomized me. I was like, yo, look, I could find other things to do for money. Why is your homeboy so close to you when you come out of there? Look like you guys just made sweet love. Yeah, you see, now Mika's in the same shirt. He's out there in the same shirt. This is not Photoshop. This is really happening. I'm just saying to you. Damn. They found it that quick.
Young brother, everything's good? Selling out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you tried to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right, okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
It's 555.
Yes. Okay.
5555.
Okay. 55. You heard that?
Because I looked at him like, yo. You heard what he just said, right? He's like, yo, certain things they let it go by because it's Puff. Like they would look, like he would say stuff, and it's like he wasn't like in the closet, he was like in the hallway.
Where you put my bag? I like when you like this, Daddy.
Yeah, where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you scrambling and scraping for shit.
No, I got notes
like that.
Shit. I'll be practicing. I got
notes.
Yeah,
there you go.
Shit.
Got your notes.
Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna go over with that one.
Make a wish.
That one.
Just blow it out. It's your birthday every day.
Every day's your birthday on Drink Champs, goddammit.
Fab, how was your birthday, man?
Yeah,
what was your wish for this year?
Health, my birthday was cool.
Wealth,
yeah.
Knowledge itself. Why stop that over your cake, brother?
I like vibes. You know what I mean? I like a good vibe more than like wanting for anything or like, you know what I mean? See where I look back on where I became.
Did you miss me though? For real? Because it seems like a thing with this birthday party.
Puff, man.
But I'm talking about for your birthday.
Huh?
Why won't you party with me for your birthday, man?
We partied for my birthday before. You came to my party.
No, but me and you ain't never really party, you know what I'm saying?
Because when Fab, he was like, yo, Fab, we ain't party. Fab was like, no, we partying tonight.
He's like, no, but they didn't party. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, they let that one go? Like, I had to say something about it later because I was like, oh, it was
What did it feel like all these years, you being the only one calling this out?
I look like I've been the crazy guy for a long time.
They said you're a hater. They said you're crazy.
You do this, and now everybody's complaining. My ass is hurting. This all this shit is coming. You see it now. All of these complaints. People were they were and pillaged. This was what was going on.
Tell them the story.
Tell them the story. So we talking about rumors, right?
Yeah.
And we, when you Google his name, there's a rumor that pops up that he was Diddy's boy toy.
Oh shit!
Right?
Wait, so this is
so Charlamagne said
it's not true, but I told after he brought up this stuff with you, I said, you know what 50 gonna say when he meets you?
Oh no, I don't know that was going on.
You know,
I can't wait to run into him again.
What you gonna say to him?
Puffy was playing with your booty in Miami.
You know what 50 gonna say to you when he sees you. I heard Diddy touch the butt.
Yeah. Wait till I see him. Wait till I see him. I'm like, yo. Yeah.
You and Puff haven't liked each other business-wise for a long time.
Oh, that's why. It's only business. It was really, away from that, I explained why I didn't hang out with him, right? Because it's fluffy stuff going on.
It's not your scene.
It's not my stuff.
Not your scene.
They hug you from the front and the back at the same time.
It's not your thing.
It's not my thing, bro.
What was the original annoyance between, it was just like...
Well, when you start to get the momentum, he's like, yo, we gotta hang out. Yo, when we going? I got uncomfortable with him because the way he was acting to try and get me to hang out with him was like, yo, I'll take you shopping. And I'm like, what you mean? Like, that's something you say to a woman you're attracted to, maybe.
Right.
At Chris Lighty's wedding, he told me he'd take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say? It's just weird, bro. Like, and now you start to see a lot of the weird stuff that was there. It looks like it all lines up, don't it? It was not in the closet. It was in front of you, and you wasn't seeing it because you see the beards, or you see the girls. So you didn't look at them the way it actually is to a degree. The nigga Puff was like, first he was amping him to get style. Then he was like, yo, when we gonna get the chance to kick it, like we could just hang out, nigga. We gotta kick it.
This is
Puff.
Okay.
He telling me we gotta kick it and shit. And he was like, yo, why don't we like go shopping or some shit? I mean, like, I pay for it. And I was like, what the fuck this nigga just said? I got the fuck away from him because I was like, this nigga just tell me he'd take me shopping.
The music industry is still reeling from what many are calling the most shocking betrayal in hip-hop history. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson has agreed to take the witness stand against Sean Diddy Combs in what could become the most pivotal moment in Diddy's federal racketeering trial. This isn't just another celebrity feud, it's a high-stakes legal showdown that could redefine the entire power structure of the entertainment world. Word on the street is that prosecutors quietly secured 50's cooperation after months of closed-door negotiations. They believe his first-hand knowledge of Diddy's inner circle could expose patterns of alleged cover-ups stretching back 2 decades. Sources close to both camps admit the move completely blindsided Diddy's defense team, who had dismissed 50's constant social media trolling as nothing more than marketing, never imagining he would actually submit to the oath and scrutiny of federal testimony. From the beginning, prosecutors have painted a sweeping picture. A global enterprise built on celebrity allure and promises of unlimited access. They claim Diddy engineered a culture of intimidation, rewarding loyalists while silencing dissent through financial leverage, NDAs, and when necessary, brute intimidation. Early court filings hinted at various potential witnesses, club promoters, former bodyguards, private jet brokers, but none carried the mainstream recognition or multimedia evidence that 50 Cent brings to the table. 50's decision to cooperate wasn't made overnight. People familiar with the negotiations say the first approach came last fall, shortly after Homeland Security agents raided Diddy's properties in Los Angeles and Miami. At that point, 50's name appeared in internal prosecution memos as someone who had observed, documented, and publicly commented on gatherings now under federal review. The road to agreement hit roadblocks when 50's attorneys demanded guarantees that his creative output, his lyrics, TV scripts, and reality show segments wouldn't be used to attack his credibility. Prosecutors eventually agreed, carving out stipulations that 50's entertainment persona would remain outside the courtroom's evidentiary boundaries. Behind the scenes, Diddy's team tried damage control. They argued that any rivalry between the two moguls was just business competition, not first-hand knowledge of wrongdoing. They pointed to old interviews where 50 admitted he hadn't attended certain after-hours functions now being investigated. They even floated the idea that 50's presence on the witness list was just a publicity stunt to poison the jury pool. But the government countered by producing travel logs, backstage passes, and archival footage showing 50 at private gatherings from Manhattan lofts to Caribbean villas. Environments prosecutors say became unofficial boardrooms, where off-the-books deals and hush payments were arranged away from cameras. The roots of this confrontation trace back to 2007, when both rappers competed for chart dominance. Hip-hop commentators portrayed it as friendly rivalry, but industry executives tell a sharper story: competing liquor brands, conflicting sponsorship deals, and a tug-of-war over emerging streaming platforms. That rivalry intensified in 2016 when 50 publicly suggested that Diddy's signature parties operated under suspicious rules, hinting at check-your-phone policies, encrypted invitations, and whisper networks that screened guests for absolute discretion. Those social media posts, each generating hundreds of thousands of engagements, have resurfaced in the government's discovery requests, showing how throwaway gossip can evolve into critical evidence. Court documents reveal 50 is expected to testify right after former Bad Boy security consultant Tremaine Trey Sanders, whose testimony will outline the logistical structure of Diddy's traveling entourage, coded walkie-talkie exchanges, staggered exits to mislead paparazzi, and rotation of unmarked Sprinter vans dispatched to undisclosed locations. Prosecutors believe 50 can confirm this sophistication wasn't merely about celebrity privacy, but about compartmentalizing knowledge and insulating Diddy from direct exposure to alleged illegal acts taking place at his events. Veteran defense attorney Diana Kepler plans to challenge 50 on credibility, highlighting inconsistencies between his public statements and sworn depositions from previous civil suits. She'll likely bring up his on-again, off-again bankruptcy filings, suggesting financial motives for cooperation. But insiders point out that 50 has spent years diversifying into film, beverages, and tech ventures, building what Forbes estimates as a 9-figure portfolio. Proof, prosecutors will argue, that he doesn't need a payout for telling the truth. As preparations intensify, federal marshals have updated security protocols at the courthouse. Additional metal detectors have been installed, visitor lists purged of non-essential personnel, and backup generators tested to ensure proceedings continue even during Manhattan's notorious summer brownouts. These measures aim less at preventing physical threats and more at stopping unauthorized leaks. The last time a high-profile music executive stood trial in the same building, leaked transcripts caused a mistrial and forced prosecutors to restart jury selection from scratch. Media analysts predict massive ratings for networks with live streaming agreements. Platforms are already branding segments as Mogul versus Mogul and Empire on Trial, though attorneys on both sides have filed motions to restrict real-time commentary that might influence the jury. Judge Helena Whitmore has issued stern warnings that defamation laws remain in effect even in the court of public opinion, and ordered both parties to avoid naming unindicted individuals. 50's testimony is expected to begin with his first meeting with Diddy at a Midtown recording studio in 2003. From there, it will track their intersecting business ventures. Effin' Vodka versus Cyrock, SMS audio headphones versus Beats collaborations, and the subtle clashes that erupted when sponsorship dollars overlapped. Prosecutors believe this business chess game provides context for the personal animosity that followed, making 50 uniquely qualified to translate private disputes into tangible evidence of alleged witness intimidation. Court filings mention an incident where a Diddy associate supposedly confronted 50's road manager outside an Atlanta nightclub, warning that public accusations about party conduct would dry up studio pipelines. According to affidavit summaries, 50 responded by hiring off-duty police as security, signaling the rivalry had escalated beyond chart positions. Digital evidence will play a crucial role. Prosecutors plan to authenticate encrypted chats extracted from seized laptops through 50's testimony. They claim certain screen names match aliases 50 identified years ago in social media posts, and message metadata places Diddy in direct contact with promoters coordinating exclusive gatherings in South Beach and St. Bart's. While defense lawyers will challenge chain of custody procedures, forensic technicians are prepared to explain how chat logs remained intact despite multiple device migrations, suggesting deliberate record-keeping by someone inside Diddy's circle. Public reaction has split along predictable lines. Diddy supporters argue the government is exploiting celebrity feuds to bolster a case that should rely on hard evidence, not tabloid narratives. They point to the long tradition of rap diss tracks, insisting that rivalry doesn't equal reliability. Meanwhile, 50's fans celebrate what they see as poetic justice, recalling his many accusations that industry gatekeepers silence whistleblowers. YouTube channels focused on hip-hop commentary have scheduled marathon live streams to analyze courtroom sketches, clothing choices, and facial expressions captured by pool cameras. Legal experts warn that the spotlight on 50 could overshadow lesser-known witnesses whose testimony might provide more detailed evidence: flight manifests, wire transfer receipts, NDAs signed under duress. But prosecutors welcome the attention, confident that 50's star power will prevent defense lawyers from portraying the government's case as a collection of disgruntled ex-employees and anonymous sources. One assistant U.S. attorney privately described 50 as the connective tissue that bridges insider gossip and verifiable logistics. The road ahead is filled with tactical challenges. If defense attorneys can undermine 50's timeline, suggesting certain parties he mentions occurred while he was touring overseas, their cross-examination could plant seeds of reasonable doubt. To counter this, prosecutors have subpoenaed airline booking records, hotel check-ins, and even concert rider deliveries to confirm 50's exact location on key dates. Behind the scenes, record label executives and talent agency chiefs watch developments with growing anxiety. Artists once managed by Diddy have projects slated for release this quarter. Albums, fashion lines, streaming series that now risk boycotts depending on how testimony unfolds. Crisis management firms have drafted contingency plans, including delayed launches and strategic charitable donations to reset public narratives. Meanwhile, 50's entertainment empire positions itself to leverage any credibility boost, quietly arranging cross-promotions for his true crime podcast and expanding distribution of his syndicated hip-hop anthology series. Financial analysts note that Revolt, Diddy's media network saw advertiser commitments drop after federal raids, but partially recovered when legal counsel promised a robust defense. They now wonder if 50's courtroom appearance will reignite brand hesitation. A senior strategist at a major auto manufacturer admitted the company postponed negotiations for a Revolt-sponsored culture summit pending testimony. If 50 corroborates the prosecution's narrative, multinational advertisers could retreat en masse, forcing Revolt to rely on smaller direct-to-consumer sponsors. Judge Whitmore must also manage procedural motions affecting trial tempo. Defense lawyers have requested a temporary adjournment to analyze newly produced evidence, an encrypted spreadsheet allegedly documenting distribution of settlement funds to silence accusers. Prosecutors oppose any delay, asserting the spreadsheet emerged only after Diddy's compliance team completed a court-ordered forensic sweep. Observers expect the judge will split the difference, granting a short recess but holding firm to the established start date for 50's testimony. Since his cooperation became public, 50 has maintained an uncharacteristically low profile. His social media accounts have shifted from provocative banter to promotional posts with no trial commentary. This restraint was reportedly a prerequisite for the agreement. Prosecutors insisted he avoid real-time commentary that could be seen as witness tampering or an attempt to influence jurors outside the courtroom. The transformation is striking for someone whose brand thrived on confrontational tweets and viral memes, suggesting he understands the gravity of entering a witness protection-style bubble while legal proceedings unfold. The cultural backdrop raises the stakes exponentially. In the wake of high-profile verdicts involving music figures accused of misconduct, cases that galvanized social movements and inspired documentary exposés, fans have grown both skeptical and unforgiving. Streaming platforms now face swift backlash for featuring material tied to artists under legal scrutiny. Several outlets have reportedly started tagging Diddy-produced tracks with disclaimers linking to news articles about the trial, similar to how health agencies flagged pandemic misinformation. As trial logistics finalize, U.S. Marshals are coordinating travel for out-of-state witnesses who will support 50's narrative. These include a former tour accountant prepared to discuss cash advances handled through intermediaries and a luxury hotel manager willing to testify about discreet penthouse renovations requested before private gatherings. Each witness supplies detailed evidence that transforms 50's high-level overview into a comprehensive blueprint of alleged systemic wrongdoing. Defense attorneys counter that such supporting testimony amounts to paid grievance, highlighting settlements some witnesses received after employment disputes. Within hip-hop circles, the case has sparked debate about loyalty, gatekeeping, and the cost of speaking out. Veteran artists post cryptic messages about industry code, while younger acts weigh the benefits of distance versus solidarity. Several prominent DJs have already removed Diddy-affiliated tracks from late-night playlists, citing audience discomfort. Radio consultants tracking call-ins report increased listener requests to avoid Combs-produced classics. If 50's testimony lands with the impact prosecutors expect, programming executives predict an even steeper drop, potentially triggering the kind of catalog devaluation typically associated with scandal-plagued legacy artists. The trial's first day opened with prosecutors establishing 50's credentials: multi-platinum albums, Emmy-winning television projects, philanthropy, and a track record of turning personal challenges into entrepreneurial opportunities. This foundation reminds jurors that credibility comes not just from moral character, but from the discipline required to sustain multi-platform success. Then came the core testimony: 50's first-hand observations of interpersonal dynamics, financial inducements, and witness management tactics allegedly orchestrated by Diddy's team. The most damning testimony concerned a Hamptons party in August 2014. 50 described arriving at an oceanfront estate where private security collected phones and distributed color-coded wristbands determining access levels. His silver-clasped wristband granted entry to a private lounge where Diddy discussed investment opportunities requiring discreet early-stage money. When 50 declined to sign NDAs, the atmosphere noticeably changed, and he was politely but firmly ushered back to the main event. The next day, an intermediary allegedly offered him an envelope described as a retainer to keep doors open for synergy, which 50 refused, suspecting it was meant to ensure his silence. prosecutors introduced a ledger from a now-dissolved Combs management firm showing cash disbursements tagged to that same Hamptons weekend. One line item, post-soiree retainers, matched the amount 50 claimed was offered through the intermediary. Defense attorneys objected to the ledger as lacking foundation, but Judge Whitmore ruled it admissible, noting that an IRS forensic accountant would authenticate the transaction codes later in the week. 50 testified about similar events: St. Barthélemy on New Year's Eve, a private yacht in Croatia, an after-awards gathering in Beverly Hills, featuring the same pattern of NDAs, phone confiscation, and payments disguised as consultancy advances. He emphasized that he rejected every payment, a consistency prosecutors used to portray him as untainted by financial motives. Cross-examination focused on apparent contradictions in 50's public persona versus his courtroom demeanor. Defense attorney Kepler displayed magazine covers with inflammatory quotes, painting him as a provocateur who profits from controversy. 50 remained composed, acknowledging that entertainment requires different standards than sworn testimony. When challenged about timeline inconsistencies, 50 countered with travel itineraries that proved he could have attended both a film festival and the Hamptons party using chartered helicopters and private jets. The defense attempted to normalize party protocols, suggesting phone collection protected unreleased music and wristbands were standard VIP practice. But when they implied 50 used rumor-mongering to promote his liquor brand, he calmly cited quarterly revenue that outpaced advertising long before he commented publicly on Diddy's events. The prosecution's next witness, forensic accountant Dr. Amelia Groves, connected the dots by decoding the ledger entries. She outlined a sophisticated three-step laundering sequence: revenue from entertainment ventures flowing into shell entities disguised as event management firms, those firms issuing consultancy contracts to individuals bound by NDAs, and funds dispersing across international subsidiaries to mask origin and purpose. Her testimony gave retrospective weight to 50's accounts, placing the silver-clasp wristband, sealed envelope, and coded email within a framework illuminated by financial forensics. As the court adjourned for the day, commentators noted 50's surprisingly calm delivery and the powerful connection between his testimony and the financial evidence. Defense researchers worked overnight to find social media posts that might contradict 50's timeline, while prosecutors prepared to counter any such attempts. The immediate question now facing the court: will 50's testimony, combined with financial records and corroborating witnesses, convince jurors that Diddy's empire functioned not as a legitimate business, but as a network built on secrecy, privilege, and fear of reprisal? Whatever the verdict, this case has already transformed how the entertainment industry views private parties, NDAs, and the digital footprints that can surface years later under federal subpoena. One thing is certain: the hip-hop world will never be the same. The industry that once celebrated loyalty above all else now watches as one of its biggest stars testifies against another, revealing the hidden mechanisms behind the glamorous facade of celebrity power. And as 12 jurors weigh the evidence, from wristbands and ledgers to text messages and first-hand accounts, they hold in their hands not just Diddy's fate, but potentially the future of how entertainment empires operate in America.